Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every week on the show, it is Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend. We are diving into this fairly unprepared. We were just talking about two-sentence horror stories a few moments ago, and I was just like, let's just dive in. Let's just do this. So, hey, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, buddy? What's going on there?
Well, not much, just producer Madison County, just, wondering how Meryl Streep and Clint Eastwood are getting along these days.
Here's a game we should start playing at some point. Take
Monopoly?
any game or any movie you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And insert Norm Macdonald into it. Bridges of Madison County.
Of course, he's the bridge. He's the bridge.
Hey, you guys just going to, yep, you are. Just going to give her the old 1-2 under there, aren't you?
That's nice. Nobody ever treats bridges as romantic anymore. And this makes my day. I'm not the only one around here.
Oh, boy. Anyways, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend is on the line with me right now. It's kind of an interesting week where we only have one movie coming out, and it's an animated one. I don't want to say that's a bad thing or whatever, but if I recall, you weren't a big fan of the first one?
Yeah, I was not a big fan of Inside Out.
All right, so Inside Out 2 is coming out this weekend. That's actually sort of surprising to me. I would have thought you really liked that movie.
No, I was not a fan, and it felt like a backslide for Pixar because, yes, I get it, we're dealing with kids' emotions, but it just didn't, it felt like an earlier Pixar movie where it's very surface and very pat versus you have something like a WALL-E or a Finding Nemo where it had some sort of depth.
Okay.
And I get it. A lot of people are going to say, you're not a kid, you're not a girl, you're not a parent, so what the do you have to say? And it's like, look, I am a human, and I can deal with emotions and emotional intelligence, and I just think that this movie kind of was very surface level, glossed over it, and just had jokes, and, the prerequisite Pixar cry you bastard moment. And I that moment got me too. Rest in peace to my boy Bing Bong. But
Bing Bong.
I just wasn't a huge fan of Inside Out.
I enjoyed it. Is it one of my favorites? No, but I didn't mind it. It was okay. So we get Inside Out 2. How many years has passed since this?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, actually. Let me look that up really quickly because
I mean movie like since the last one came out. As long as we're on the same page here.
Oh, see, I thought you were asking how many years have passed in universe.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, she's a teenager now. It's been 7 years since that movie came out.
Okay, so no, almost 10. It's 9 years since that movie came out, and the movie is set 1 year after Inside Out.
Only one?
Yep. Well, these are animated characters. You don't really have to scale them in the same way as you would a human.
I get it. I get that part, but it's kind of surprising that it'd only be 1 year in between them,
Yeah, and I'm actually curious if they still have the same voice actor playing Riley.
I don't know.
No, different voice actor. It's like Toy Story all over again, where it's like Andy, I forget how many years it was between the first and the second, but Andy barely aged.
Oh, all right. So what are we hearing about this movie, Mike?
The review embargo has just lifted, or it's lifted recently, and with 48 reviews, we've got a 90%.
Oh, wow.
So we've got people saying everything from, Matt Singer from Screen Crash, imperfect but thoughtful sequel. Okay, so our reviewer gave it a 4.5. There is more joy to be found in the animated sequel.
Oh, wow.
And meanwhile, I saw another review, even though I was just doing a cursory search for this. The Vulture's review says, Inside Out 2 is another product of the Pixar slump.
It sounds to me that you're you like it or you don't.
It sounds like it's going to be very divisive. And you know what? This is what happens when you people unjustly sacrificed Lightyear, because that was a good movie.
You know what's interesting about it? This seems like one that you can mess up early. It's a really interesting concept, but the more you start digging into it, especially with emotions and how they play along with everything in life, that it's like, you know what? Maybe this is a little too complex for this type of thing.
Well, that's what really got me the first time they did it, because Joy should have been the villain. I'm sorry. Joy should have been the villain, and Sadness should have been the true hero because of the way that Joy was just pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah.
Again, I'm probably going to revisit it before I go see it, so that way I can maybe reorganize my own feelings about it and
Yeah.
see how I feel about it now, but I don't know if it's really going to change, and I'm kind of nervous.
So
That's a nightmare.
what?
So Jurassic World: The Ride over at Universal Hollywood looks like this was a video on Twitter and TikTok 14 hours ago. The ride broke at the top of the lift hill, so they had to walk out and down, and that's really interesting a real interesting thing to say.
You know what one of the worst things I ever saw was? It was at a fair, and I got there early. I was working at it for one of the radio stations, and I'm walking through the amusement park section, right? And double Ferris wheel. There's this old carny. He has a mallet, and he was wailing on something like on the ride, like the side was open, and he was just blasting this thing with a mallet. I don't know what it was, but I'm like, I will never ride one of those rides again.
What recovery ride was this again?
It was the double Ferris wheel.
Oh.
It was one of those things. It's like, I will never ride this ride again. So anyways, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend. All right. So Inside Out 2 is out this weekend. We'll have to sit back, relax, and see what happens with it. As we make our way through it, I know you haven't caught up on the series yet, but a new episode of Acolyte came out. Again, like Mike pointed out, we are recording on Wednesday this week. It's just a busy week, and that's just how it kind of works out. But watched the new episode of Acolyte last night on Disney Plus, and it was a complete flashback episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is, and it's diving. You know how you were saying about that you don't need homework for it?
Yeah.
I kind of felt like you needed a little bit of homework for this.
Ooh, it also feels really early to be doing a flashback episode. I mean, flashback to like stuff before the series.
It was one of those things. My wife and I were watching it, and we just started rattling off stuff like, how much do you know about the main character? What her secret is, or whatever?
You mean the twins?
Yes. Okay. So it went into like
the first episode, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just couldn't remember what you had known and what you didn't know, because I don't want to spoil too much of this for you. And there will be a few spoilers here. But it went into their back history and how they were raised and how they got separated. Like, you kind of felt like you were on the edge of a lot of, anytime there's twins in a show or a movie, there's those tropes that, the twins get mixed up, or one's gone and one's not, or they get mixed, whatever twins trope you can think of. I kind of felt like we were on the edge of a lot of those with this episode.
I did. The moment that they were mentioned as twins, it's like, we're falling back into that Star Wars trope. It's the dyad. It's always two there are. The light and the dark. Womp womp.
They were being raised as witches.
Huh.
And I don't think that, because if you get into it, it's going to be immediately. It's not like it's a secret part of it, but.
I knew there was a Force Witch involved because I covered one of our interviews and I had to look up one of the characters.
Yeah, there feels like a little bit of that, and I don't know. It was also what I was telling you off the air today. Whenever anybody burns down a temple or something, it always seems like it's made of a material that shouldn't burn that much. It's like, wow, look at all that rock burn.
That stone building just went up like a kindling.
Like, I wish you'd seen it, but I'm just going to say someone starts a fire, and the next thing you know, I don't know if I nodded off for like 30 seconds, but next thing you know, this whole fucking mountain temple is ablaze.
That's how most mountain temples start, so don't doze off, kids. Stay awake in your mountain temples and make sure that you're not accidentally setting things on fire with your Jedi death sticks. And
I also asked my wife, there's somebody hot wires a door. I'm like, how does a child always know how to hot wire a door in some of these universes?
Because it's shut up and eat your Star Wars.
But it does go back to the thing I was talking about last week. It's like everybody's either living in high technology or dirt floor poor, or everything's made of stone or something, Yeah,
it's like, again, there's no middle class in the Galactic Republic, my friends.
It's like
they're
nobody,
not your friends.
It's like nobody has wood floors. They don't even have laminate floors. You would think that would be a thing. Be like, man, I could really go for some wood-looking laminate floor in this bathroom. Nope.
Yeah.
Here's your stone or your graded metal.
There's no suburbs on Coruscant. The whole planet is a city. And then any other planet in the universe, it's just like, it's either dirt poor or dirt rich.
Yeah,
well, that's
so.
Tatooine. Tatooine's dirt no matter what.
Yeah, sand. Hate sand. It gets everywhere.
Dirt poor and sand rich. The Anakin Skywalker story.
But I'll be interested to see where this goes. I just felt like we were going down a lot of didn't see that coming type stuff,
This is exactly why I think why I'm still kind of hesitant to jump in a little more. That and just scheduling has had me focusing on other things.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Carrie-Anne Moss was in it again.
Well, I kind of figured because you said it was a flashback episode.
Yeah.
That is exactly how I figured things would go. It's like, oh, okay. So we're going to get flashbacks of Carrie-Anne Moss because there's no way we're wasting her in just one episode. Either it's a flashback or it's a fake death or both. We'll see.
The other one, there's a Wookiee Jedi in there. And when he's just being a Wookiee, he looks like a Wookiee should. When he's wearing the Jedi robes, he looks like a guy in a Wookiee costume. Like some guy from cosplay stumbled on set with a really nice Wookiee Jedi costume, and they're like, "Oh hell, let's just put him in."
Oh, it's okay, buddy. Very good Wookiee.
Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now as we make our way through it. So, yeah, we watched that. One we didn't get to last week, but I figured we might as well bring it up since we actually need some reviews before we get to movie news here. But we did watch The Hitman this weekend over on Netflix.
I still have not watched Hitman. How is that?
We were talking about this earlier, you and I, and it seems to be, I don't know if it's a problem I'm having with movies in general, or I've just watched a lot of movies that I've felt this way. It was a good movie. I get to a point, I just start losing interest. It's always, it seems like a lot of the movies I've been watching lately, about that 45-minute mark, it's like, can we just get to the point of this? Can we move along?
I'm very curious to watch. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, I get it. Go ahead.
No, that was me accidentally interrupting you. I apologize for that.
No. I believe me, it's fine. But no, I mean, overall, it's a good movie. It's a fun story. The characters are good. What's his name? Who's the main character in it?
Glenn Powell.
He's funny. He does a really good job. His character doesn't make a lot of sense on a couple levels. Because you know kind of the basis of it, right?
Based on real life.
Yeah, but it's just it's. I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of say it. It's like it's not that I don't think someone could do this. It's more his character kind of slipped into some of this a little too easily. It's like for what they set him up to be as a real person, like outside of this world, like what he's able to slip into and do immediately and like not really have a lot of practice. And, you know, the way they set him up as a character, you don't see him making a natural jump to what he's doing in the movie. But no, overall, good movie. Had a lot of fun with it. I don't know what it is about recent movies, but I get to a certain point and I'm just like, can we just move along? I get it. You know, I see his skills or, okay, this is, I know where the problem's going. Get to it. Or the problem has happened. All right, we're thinking about this way too much. Resolve it. I just have a lot of impatience, I guess.
Yeah, I've noticed that, but I do too at times.
So, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line. What movie news do we got this week?
So, I don't know if we talked about this at all off air or previously, but it looked like Paramount was going to be bought last week.
I heard that.
Actually. Earlier this week, it looked like Paramount and production company Skydance were going to merge. Now, personally, I think they're probably, out of the buyers that I've heard, because, you know, we've heard like Sony wants to potentially buy Paramount and other companies want to potentially buy Paramount and split it up, sell off assets, you know, the usual corporate raider stuff. But Skydance looked like it was one of, if not the only parties that wanted to keep the company together and just wanted to merge with them. And, you know, for the company that's helped produce G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Mission Impossible and Star Trek,
I want to merge with you.
They have a long history with the studio. What? They have a long history with the studio. I'll wait.
I want to merge with you. Come, Paramount. Let me merge with you. Now picture the scene.
Yeah. Merge with the
Yeah,
bridges in Madison County. Yeah.
Now picture the part where Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep are getting together and merging.
And they're going to merge with me, and then they become part of the bridge forever.
It was so sweaty and old. There's been gay everywhere.
Well, that sort of awkwardness kind of brings us to where we are right now. Because while I thought Skydance was a perfect partner for them, considering they've been working with them for over a decade, and they have hooks in, they have interest in productions like Mission Impossible and Star Trek. It looks like the merger has failed, and there is it looks like we're back to the drawing board as to whether Paramount will be bought or whether it will stay an independent entity for the moment and restructure itself. There is a trio of CEOs: George Cheeks, Brian Robbins, and Chris McCarthy, who handle various parts of Paramount's organization. I believe. Well, I don't remember who respectively goes into what, and I don't want to slow us down by bringing that up. But just they're basically the three head honchos in charge right now.
Okay.
Of what's going on with Paramount, and the alleged reason that this other merger fell apart was because Sherry Redstone, who is the majority shareholder I believe she runs the company National Amusements Incorporated, and she is the majority shareholder of Paramount because her father, Sumner Redstone, was previously like the big wheel that had the most say in whatever happened with these sorts of things.
Gotcha.
She pushed for talks to end pertaining to the merger, and apparently things got really far along. Like everyone thought that this was going to be a done deal and announced this past Tuesday. I think it was this past Tuesday, or I forgot if that was this week or no, last week, I think, or it was supposed to be fairly recent because the whole thing was this started to leak out the day before a big shareholder meeting. So when that happens, you pretty much think it's like, oh, it's a done deal. Word's starting to hit the street and we're going to get the full announcement tomorrow. That meeting came and went and they're like, yeah, we're still kind of plugging at it. And then this week it was just like, yeah, no, this isn't happening. But they have a strategy for how they want to handle Paramount, and hopefully it works out. And they don't. I mean, this is one of the last legacy studios I can think of that isn't acquired by someone.
Yeah.
And again, like I have a friend, my friend on staff who's one of our Star Trek experts. He was talking with me in passing about this, and he's like, yeah, I don't want Sony to have their hands on it because, again, if Sony has Paramount, they may just split the company up, sell different things at different places, and who knows what'll happen to franchises like that.
Dude, Sony's got their fingers in everything. There was an article about how they were trying to buy Queen's catalog for $1 billion.
Oh, well, funny you mentioned that. Sony looks like it's buying Alamo Drafthouse.
Oh, okay.
And what's really interesting about that is Sony previously had owned a chain of movie theaters. There was Sony Theaters in the mid to late 90s. And they eventually, I think that company was bought out by AMC. And then, Lowe's. And then Lowe's was bought out by AMC. But this is their second time back in the theatrical exhibition market. And I think what made it easier is back in 2020, there was something called the Paramount Decrees. And I think we talked about this previously, too, in the years that we've done this show. And what happened with the Paramount Decrees was those were the laws that said, hey, movie studios can't own movie theaters because they could do everything from charge more or less for their own films to try to book, the next Star Wars movie. But hey, if you want to run Star Wars 11, you have to run Inside Out 3 as well.
Yeah. They can put caveats on it.
Movie. Yeah, basically. And they're not like, it's not that there aren't already caveats on that sort of thing. I mean, I remember reporting back in, I think it was back when The Last Jedi was in release, that Disney had conditions like, okay, this movie has to be in your largest auditorium for
Oh,
at
yeah, I
least
remember
4
that.
weeks. And but apparently it used to be much more advantageous to businesses back in the olden days until those laws went on the books. And now that they've been repealed and we're past the sunset period, now it's like, okay, Sony's going to buy Alamo Drafthouse. And I could just imagine like, oh yeah, you want to go see Thanksgiving too? Well, it's going to be opening at Drafthouse a week prior to everyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is what they will do. I'm saying that this is just the potential that's out there. I don't know how studios will, I mean, on the brighter side, I would like to see it like, oh, Sony is going to run Thanksgiving too. Like they'll do like fan events, and it's like, okay, special screenings the week of opening, and maybe like they have like a couple of sneak preview showings the week before.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, you can only go to an Alamo Drafthouse to see it for the first couple weeks, and then after that, we're going to start going to other theaters.
Okay. Well, that's sort of interesting, but going back to the Paramount thing, I'm glad that they're kind of looking. I hope they don't get broke up because, for me personally, I watch a lot of Star Trek on that thing, and I'd love it if it didn't get completely up.
Oh, I know, and it's just they're trying to get that fourth Star Trek movie off the ground still, the fourth Kelvin timeline movie. You've got all these other plans of things that have been filmed or in the works, and that just, throwing new management in there, that's dangerous because, as anyone who's dealt with studio changeovers will tell you, the stuff that the previous regime greenlit is usually the first stuff to go. That isn't the first stuff that's not safe in that sort of scenario.
Interesting. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now as we talk about the world of Paramount. Can I bring up the Star Trek story with Paramount?
I was hoping you would, because this is a very good entry into that.
Paul Giamatti is going to be in the world of Star Trek.
And he's going to be a villain, dude. Paul Giamatti has been announced as a villain in Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which is already, you had my attention. You had my curiosity by casting Holly Hunter in there. Now you've got my attention by bringing in Mr. Paul Giamatti, who I'm hoping they say he's a villain. I'm hoping he gets to be in as many prosthetic makeup looks as he wants, because if you watch that GQ video from a couple months ago where he's going over his career, he talked about how I think we even mentioned the story when it came up. He loved doing the makeup for Planet of the Apes for Tim Burton.
Yeah.
His agents were like, don't you want to be a human? He's like, if you do that, I'll kill you.
I don't know, because it's going to deal with the Starfleet Academy stuff. It's kind of based in the same area as the Discovery universe, which I do want to bring up Discovery here in a second. But I don't know. Do you make him an alien? Do you make him like the Dean that they're because the Tilly, the one character from Discovery, is going to be a part of this, I believe, and she's kind of warm, bubbly, person. Do you put, as your villain? Is it the evil administrator? You know what I'm saying? That wants to shut down the program and what have you, or is he an alien that they take a ship out to test, and he's the alien that they run into?
I see you combine it. I say you make him an alien who is the dean of Starfleet Academy, and you turn this into an Animal House scenario where he's Dean Warmer, and he's just increasingly getting pissed off at these young kids and their thoughts and what they're doing and their shenanigans. It's probably going to still be dramatic Star Trek, but now that we're talking about it, I just kind of want a Lower Deck style successor where it's Animal House meets Star Trek, and you've got Paul Giamatti as the hard-ass dean who puts all the cadets on double secret probation.
You know what? I don't hate it. So
Klingon dean who puts all the students on double secret probation.
Oh, that'd be interesting. You know what? I always thought he'd make a good. If I'm going to see him as an alien, do you know what I want to see him as?
What?
Ferengi.
Oh, yes. A Ferengi, or what if you have a disconnected Borg that's not part of the collective anymore, kind of like a 7 of 9 scenario, and he's just the hard ass. He's like, I used to say resistance is futile, but you kids, every day I deal with you, you make me want to say it again.
Oh, wow. Ferengi's an easy one. What else would he be good at?
Ferengi would be the dean of Starfleet, though. That's not advantageous. Like, where do the rules of acquisition come in there?
A Denobulan might be kind of interesting, going back to Enterprise. A Cardassian.
Ooh, there are so many wonderful possibilities.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that Paul Giamatti, the dude was nominated for an Oscar last year, and I think everybody knew Cillian Murphy was going to win it for Oppenheimer, but I was still pulling that, okay, if Cillian doesn't win it, I want Paul Giamatti to get it. He feels like the type of guy where he's kind of like Adam Sandler in a sense, where it's like, cool, if you don't nominate me, that's cool. If you nominate me, that's cool. I'm glad to be here. I'm going to still do the stuff that pushes me and the stuff that I love.
Yeah.
And I just, between this and him being the heavy for the new Hostel series that Eli Roth is doing, which he was talking at various red carpets about wanting to do more horror. I just like that he's going for it. He's getting those opportunities. He's taking those opportunities. And it's just, he's not just seeking the clout project. Like, he's so good at anything he does that he is letting his flag fly in any direction.
Oh, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now. So that's kind of some Star Trek news. Real quick, and did I mention last week that I've restarted Discovery?
You did, and I think you got the first 5 episodes in when we talked about it.
They just got back from the Mirror Universe in the first season, and that's where that season really went off the rails.
Oh.
I just was watching it. You had really interesting characters that you were trying to do something with. Like, Lorca was a really interesting character. Like, I didn't need him to be mere version of Lorca or anything like that. It's just he was an interesting captain. He was a different sort of captain that we haven't had. And it would be neat to see someone like Michael Burnham, move up through the ranks with him as her captain and learning. She had the Giorgio stuff, and then she would have a guy like him as well with a completely different style of being a captain. And the thing that really bothers me is the eyesight thing. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. Just to recap, I've only seen the first half of season 1.
Okay. Something that happened in these episodes that's never been mentioned in any other Star Trek ever was that the only difference, the only physical difference between the Prime universe and the Terran universe was the Terran universe is sensitive to light.
Huh.
And that's what's supposed to give it away or something like that. But it was like, that's dumb.
Well, I'm betting that was something that, like, when I'm assuming there was, like, showrunner and writer changes during the run of the series. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they just, like, forgot or just back pocketed. We're like, maybe we'll talk about this, but it's not really that big of a thing.
Like, Lorca kind of did it every once in a while. He had eye drops or something. He's called it a battle injury or something, but it was just dumb. I like it a lot better than the first time I watched it. I think the Klingons, they really, I think that's another spot they really messed up. It's like, why did you go and make them weird vampire demon-looking things?
Again, that was probably a reach that they made under the original showrunners, the original plan, and then over time they probably changed it because they heard fans like you issuing their concerns.
You have all this history of, this species, a very fan-favorite species, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's change everything about them.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Well, they probably wanted to give it a shot. It's like, we're in the before times of Star Trek. Maybe the Klingons evolved into what they are. We don't know. It's a brave new world.
I don't dislike it as much as I did the first time. I just think they made poor choices on things that were going to make people mad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to take a leap in something, let's maybe not mess around with the fan favorite thing.
Yeah, but that's exactly what you should mess around with. You just need to know how you're doing it. That's exactly why I like The Last Jedi. They're messing around with the fan favorite thing because you can only have the fan favorite thing for so long, so static, that if you don't do something new to it, you're boring.
I'll give you a great example. Okay. The Abrams verse, the second movie when they go to Kronos, right?
Yeah.
The Klingons that they have in there, they were different than what it was in the series, the movies, the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, the whole like. They were different. But they were different in a way that I still knew what it was.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a Klingon. Oh, that the way they're dressed, the way they look. Like I still identified with it, as that's what these characters are. Like you kind of just created something new and called it a Klingon and wanted me to love it. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It just that's not one of my favorite parts. Some of the sci-fi stuff, like I said, I like it better this time around. I'm not crazy about it, but I am enjoying it a little bit more, if that makes sense. I like Michael Burnham a whole lot more now that I know where she's going.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if you get a chance, watch it for the first time and then watch it for the second time or what have you. So, Mike Reyes, there you go. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now. As we wrap up this week, where do we want to go? Actually, I do have one thing I do want to mention before we end, but if you've got something, now's the time.
Go. I can't think of anything right now.
All right. So finally on the show today, I stumbled across one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie Wild Wild West?
Yes.
With Will Smith?
Yes.
Did you know that it perfectly mashes up with Linkin Park in the end?
Ooh.
I stumbled across.
I did not think of that.
I think I may have sent it to you on TikTok this week, but I'm looking around this weekend and I come across this video, and it's this dude it's songs that shouldn't work together. It's kind of the premise of the channel. He makes mashups.
Totally mashup.
His name on this is Jason, but he's at Dason RZ. I can put a link up to it on the website if people want, but he's just got all these different mashups of songs that go together, and I would love to play it for you right now, but copyright and all that. Will Smith, Wild Wild West, and in the end, like even the video of Wild Wild West that they used, the music video, looks great with it.
Ooh, you're gonna have to send me that.
It's one of the coolest mashups I've ever heard.
I'm going to do it now because we've mentioned it. I don't want to keep people in suspense here.
Okay.
We mentioned it. People have been brought out of their homes to listen to this series.
Get out of your bed and come listen to this.
Yeah. This is Will Smith after the Oscars. This just gives him such a sinister edge. This is a perfect example of how a song changes a scene.
Yeah.
Because we actually did an experiment on this when I was in one of my psych classes in junior year of college. And this is, obviously you see a whole bunch of mashups like this, but not only does it just the cadence matches the beat of in the end. Let's see.
It makes it a dark song and it makes it really good.
I think this is the Wild Wild West people were expecting.
Yeah.
And then the one they got was one that's more akin to Men in Black, and it's silly. And 25 years in Wild Wild West this year, I'm going to watch it again, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I still love it.
I just stumbled across that the other day.
It's a hysterical movie.
I love the jokes him and the other guy do against each other. I find this an occasion to stand up.
Oh, man. Will Smith and Kevin Kline are great in that movie together.
Yeah, they are. So,
no, you were talking about Kenneth Branagh.
Loveless,
You're talking about him against, yes. Oh, well, that's another good pairing, because another reason I love that movie, Kenneth Branagh is just digging in. Shakespearean-trained director of films such as Hamlet and Murder on the Orient Express, Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
If you do not think that man has a sense of humor, watch this movie because it proves you wrong.
You don't want to see my hand where my hip be at.
Oh, man, I'm going to go listen to Wild Wild West now. That is a really good song. As far as
Wild Wild West, Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider. No, you don't want nada.
No, you don't want nada. None of this.
Six gun in this, brother running this, Buffalo Soldier. Look, it's like I told you. And any damsel that's in distress, be out of that dress when she meet Jim West.
Rough Rider, check him out.
We going straight to. Oh, that's good stuff. Hey, real quick, with Will Smith in mind, did you see he came out of the movie theater with some people that watch Bad Boys?
No.
He It was on TikTok, I believe. He like walked out of the theater and they're like, oh yeah, they're just kind of talking. He goes, hey, thank you all for coming. And they'll turn around and go nuts because Will Smith is walking out of the theater with them.
It seems like he's in a better place right now. And short of him and Chris Rock doing like a 2020 interview, I think we can put all of that aside now and just Bad Boy. I mean, if anything, you look at how Bad Boys Ride or Die did last weekend. Did rather well for itself.
Yeah.
Like I think it opened at 56 million domestically, and then I think it cracked 100 worldwide. I'm just talking out of my ass here. I'd need to look up the numbers, but it did well.
There you go. All right, we leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend joins me every week on this phone to talk about movies and such. Mike, you have yourself a wonderful, wonderful Wild Wild West.
Oh, you have a good Wild Wild weekend as well, my friend. Even though technically it would be 4th of July weekend, but we'll get wicked wild when we have to.
Wild Wild West. When I'm bouncing through the Wild Wild West.
That's it right there. That's the button.